Hello everyone. It's James again. And today I want to talk about exactly what the title of this video states. And that is, can a narcissistic abuse survivor, no matter they be male or female, pair bond and find a life partner? And I know there are many factors out there in regards to male-female relationships. But we aren't talking about that. Though it's important. We aren't talking about that right here. We are just talking about, can someone that has been raised in such a home from a narcissist mother or father find a person they can love? And that person will also love them in return. And I will give you a short answer. And then I will give you a longer one right after that. I believe the Most High God has given us the Bible with all the information we need to live our lives. And in the Bible it tells us how to be safe. And how we need to guard our hearts. But it also mentions time after time. To have faith He will give us the things we need. It also mentions that He steps in to be the parent to the orphan child. As I've mentioned before. So He's with us. He's indeed with us. In that, I will say, most of the successful relationships with a narcissistic abuse survivor, one that is doing the self-work, mind you, is with another narcissistic abuse survivor that is doing the self-work. There's a few YouTubers out there that talk about narcissistic abuse. And the ones that seem to be in solid relationships have mentioned their life partner, wife, or husband, happens to be a survivor to narcissistic abuse as well. Now, does this mean you should run around looking for another narcissistic abuse survivor? No. That will just put another bullseye on your back as a target for the narcissist. But at the same time, there's something to these relationships that seem to be doing well. You see, there was a YouTuber. Her name escapes me right now. And if I figure it out, I will mention her again. But a while back, I watched a few of her videos as she talks about narcissistic abuse. And she mentioned that her husband was a narcissistic abuse survivor. And before she learned about narcissism and had run-ins with these types of people, it was really hard to understand what was going on with her husband at first. The depression, the anxiety, the lack of normal family connections like some out there have. But she was able to somehow figure this stuff out and learn about what was happening to him. And that there was very valid reasons for the happenings in his life. Now this man that is with this woman is very blessed, to say the least. Because most people that grew up in such a toxic home, both male and female, not only have a hard time not getting taken for a ride in man-woman relationships, but they also have a hard time with not having a normal person leave them. Because the life of a narcissistic abuse victim's life isn't a normal life at all. We may not have a social circle we belong to, because we realized most of the friends we made growing up were narcissists just like our family. We may be no contact or low contact with our family of origin. And to a normal person, they just can't understand that. They most often think you should just make up and spend more time with your family of origin. Because you only have one mother. Or you only have one father. Or sister. Or brother. You get the drift, I think. The problem is, if you have never experienced this type of abuse, then you just don't understand. Now, for the record, I think everyone has experienced it. But they just might not know what it is. And by that I mean the society we all live in is very much a gaslit society. But they just don't know they are gaslit and manipulated. That being said, this is why you will hear people that have knowledge about narcissistic abuse say, don't tell people your story. They won't understand. And it will just make you look like a jerk. Which is correct. So where does that leave you? You can't tell anyone about your pain. You can't explain what has happened to you to the person you are trying to develop a relationship with. This is where you will see people like us break up with a normal person if they don't break up with us first. Simply because we feel our life is too complicated and we are too embarrassed about our situation. Now what this woman talking about her husband in a video about narcissism proved to me is you can have a relationship with someone that came from a normal home. But it's gonna take a bit of work. But with that being said, if they just don't seem to be getting it, then staying isn't going to make it better. But don't leave because you are embarrassed. Leave because you know the relationship isn't going to go anywhere. Here's the thing. YouTube is here. Yes. Very imperfect. And problematic at times. But it's here. And there's a great amount of people on this forum talking about the living hell they suffered. Now in regards to this narcissistic abuse. If you are with someone that you've been with a good long time, and you feel the time is about right to talk about your family, you might not need to tell your story at all. You might not need to explain individual details about your life. You can say, hey, explaining what I went through isn't easy because the problem is a bit complicated. And it's a hidden problem in our society that makes it shameful for the victim to be able to address and get help for. Here are these 5 videos, or however many, that explain my life pretty closely. Let them listen and watch. If it seems like they aren't willing to understand or get it, then you have your answer right then and there. Don't try to force it. But if they seem interested, then you might have a place where you can build from. Keep in mind this is only for someone you feel that you've vetted over a long period of time and through using your boundaries. This is very, very important. Also, during all of this, and I will express this to you again, never, and I mean never, let your narcissist family of origin know anything about your life if you can help it. That includes friends you have, places you work, activity groups you have joined, and the person who you are dating. Because your narcissist family member will call such a place or person, even if you think they won't or can't. Saying something like, oh, I was just calling because James was supposed to come over and he hasn't arrived yet. Oh, by the way, I'm James's mother. Yes. If you belong to a sign language class, your narcissist mother, father, or whoever will call your teacher with such a routine. And they will turn on the charm. Win this person's trust. And before you know it, make the calls more regular where they are dropping negative nuggets about you and your character. And if they would do such a thing in a situation like I mentioned, they would for sure do this with a person you are dating and getting to know. Or even someone you've been with for a few years. Many of a person that has gone no contact, but for whatever reason broke contact, and brought their new husband or wife around their narcissist family, only to have this narcissist family win over this person and systematically destroy their entire relationships, making the scapegoat once again to appear to be at fault. If you have limited contact with your family of origin, keep it simple and no personal information. Let them believe you have no one in your life. Nada. Nothing. Zip. And let them be happy with that. But again, this woman's video I watched really let me know something many of us have thought about and deep down inside know. The average person doesn't understand this stuff. They just don't. But it also tells me that the average person with a caring heart can learn this stuff. And the more this information grows on YouTube and elsewhere, the more the average person will learn about not only people that are narcissistically abused, but the world that is around them and how it really works and functions. But while we are doing this, while we are building our channels one video at a time, I will continue to say, get out there and live life. You're a good person. Get out there and smile and enjoy yourself. There's a few of you that have stated since I mentioned that it might be a good idea to join an activity group. That you have. And you are doing good about not oversharing. A problem many of us narcissistic abuse survivors have and one we need to work on all the time. But getting out there and living your life will. It will allow you to possibly And I'm just saying possibly because again you shouldn't be hunting for this. But you might possibly find someone just like you. And you will never find such a person if you're sitting at home, watching television, or whatever. Yes. Alone time is great. Learn to love to be alone. Because if someone starts to treat you bad, you won't have that overwhelming feeling like you have to stay. You will shrug your shoulders and realize being alone is okay. And is something that will happen in all of our lives. At least us narcissistic abuse survivors. But if you are comfortable with being alone, you are working hard on not oversharing. You are protecting your heart like the Most High God tells us. Then getting out there and living your life is not only okay, but something everyone should do. Now are you going to trust everything someone says? No. But the Most High God willing, He will send you places you need to be. And people you need to meet. Are these people perfect? No. That's why you have to adhere to your rules and boundaries. Along with remembering the lessons the Most High God has taught us. And by doing so, you are giving yourself a chance to meet someone though they are less than perfect. They still might be a good person much like you. A person trying to do the self-work. A person. A human being with love in their heart like you. But all that being said, you should still guard your heart and still be cautious and careful. I hope that makes a bit of sense. Well, that's all I have for now. Sorry again for the delay in responding to comments and lack of posts. Again, I have been busy. Also, I still have people asking me where they can donate. And I will have that almost done and available. And I will also say, you don't have to if you don't want to or you can't. It's very, very optional. I've just been asked by a lot of people about it. And I would indeed like to get things to the point where I can have a bit more time to work harder at this and bring this type of information to the masses regarding narcissism. Narcissistic abuse. Our narcissistic society. Social engineering. And men and women issues and the problems we have. Because I think the more people that take the red pill and start to see clearly, the more we have a chance of turning this ship around. At least somewhat. And no matter what the chances are, we have to try. Because if one person is saved, it's worth it. With that being said, let's continue to pray for wisdom. Let's continue to pray for strength. And let's continue to pray for courage. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.